Okay, so now we're talking about the BRCA and metabolism. The connection here is acetyl-CoA carboxylase, ACC for short. Okay, so that's what we're calling it. In the last video, we talked about BRCA is more than just a breast cancer gene. It has nothing to do with breast cancer. It has nothing to do with women. The BRCA gene is a DNA protein. It fixes DNA, breaks in DNA. It's also a metabolic regulator. And when it loses control, things can spiral. So today we're going to zoom in on one key player in the story, which is an enzyme called ACC. And so understanding ACC is the missing piece of why BRCA mutations and then everyday metabolic problems set the stage for cancer and chronic disease. So ACC is like we've mentioned before, it's like a faucet in your metabolism. When it's turned on, it makes a molecule called malonyl CoA. And that's the signal for your body to start building fat. So fatty acids, triglycerides, membranes. And here's the catch. Malonyl CoA also acts like a roadblock. It tells your cells, don't burn fat right now. If you're building fat, you don't want to burn fat, right? So let's build some fat. We need it for whatever, you need fatty acids. Like fatty acids are important, right? You don't want to have no fatty acids because that's a massive fuel resource, but you don't want it to go on and on and on unregulated. But when ACC is active, you're not just making fat, you're blocking the ability to use fat for energy. So that becomes hugely problematic. So what does this mean in the context of cancer? So cancer cells are like construction sites, right? They're constantly dividing, constantly needing new building materials. And what do you need to build a new cell? Well, you need lots of fat. Cell membranes are made of fatty acids and phospholipids. And so if a BRCA mutation releases the brake on ACC, you've got a faucet pouring out fat building signals nonstop. And this creates a perfect fuel for a cancer cell to grow. It's like leaving the water on at a construction site. More bricks, more mortar, more material to keep building faster and faster. But here's the really important part, because you don't need a BRCA mutation for ACC to become a problem. Everyday conditions can flip this faucet on too, such as high carb, high sugar diets that keep insulin elevated, because insulin turns on ACC. So if you have high insulin levels, and it's something that you should be checking, your ACC is most likely high. It's running amok. So we need to get that down. We need your insulin levels less than 6. A sedentary lifestyle lowers AMPK, which is a natural brake on ACC. So there's lots of things that activate AMPK. Exercise, metformin. There's lots of different natural things that you can do to activate fasting, intermittent fasting. Chronic stress, inflammation, and nutrient overload also keep ACC running. So that's not good. And what does that look like in real life? Well, you're looking at fatty liver disease. If you've been diagnosed with fatty liver disease, then your ACC is probably going pretty fast, right? High triglycerides. If your triglycerides are over 90, it's something that we need to consider, that we need to turn this faucet off of fat building. Insulin resistance, any insulin over 6 is something that we're concerned about. Type 2 diabetes comes later. It comes much, much later. That's why following insulin levels is really important, because you can head off diabetes years and even decades ahead of time. But you can also head off cancer by reducing your insulin, because insulin keeps ACC on, which increases fat building and keeps off fat burning. And constant fatigue, because you can't burn fat efficiently for energy when you're exhausted. So ACC activity is not just a cancer issue, it's the heart of modern metabolic disease. So something we need to think about. Now let's bring it back to BRCA, right? So if you carry a BRCA mutation, you're facing a double hit. Okay, so your DNA repair is broken, so cells accumulate mutations faster, and then the ACC is unrestrained, so fat building is overactive and fat burning is blocked. But you put these two things together and you've created a dangerous environment. So you have unstable DNA in your cells that are being supplied with nonstop building blocks for growth, and that's why BRCA mutations are so powerful in driving cancer risk. So here's the takeaway. ACC is the fat-making faucet in your cells. BRCA normally keeps it under control. And when that control is lost, you don't just face DNA instability, you create a metabolic environment that supports cancer and chronic disease. So in the next video, we'll continue this conversation and talk about what else you need to know.